Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be discussing about the last and final topic in lung, which is carcinomas. Okay, neoplasm. So, etiology. It can occur from age 40 to 70 years mostly, and most prominent and most common feature of etiological feature is tobacco smoking. Okay, it depends upon the amount of daily smoking and tendency to inhale, and also seen in passive smokers. Okay, it's also seen in passive smokers. Not only that, I've told you about few industrial hazards like asbestosis, all these things, silica, all those things I've told you. Kaplan syndrome, if you remember, all those things which come under rheumatoid arthritis, pneumoconiosis. So they also play a important role in neoplastic lung lesions. Okay, these industrial hazards also play an important role in neoplastic lesions of the lung. So and one more entity is air pollution, which contains radon. Okay. So what actually happens is, if you see the last line here, subsequent and stepwise accumulation of genetic abnormalities. So in case if you take anything, so there will be a mutations in the gene. Okay, if you take these etiological factors, there will be mutations in the gene. So when these mutations, what will happen when these mutations turn up to be malignant? So we have to go back and search for etiological factors. Okay, what are the factors which cause this? Okay, so next, molecular genetics. Okay, molecular genetics. The main etiological factors here are, okay, for that you have to know basic things. I'll ask you a few things. If you guys are in mute, okay, 1 minute. So what is a oncogene? Does anyone know the meaning of an oncogene? I've kept you in unmute. You can talk if you want. Okay. What is an oncogene? So remember, oncogene, proto-oncogene. Okay. This is there in the first chapter of pathology. So now the main thing is, I'll just give you a small idea of what is an oncogene. Okay. Generally, an oncogene has got the potential to cause carcinoma. Okay, the oncogene has got a potential to cause carcinoma. Okay, so in molecular genetics, earliest inactivation of chromosome 3p can cause lung cancers. Okay, lung carcinomas, and late activation of RAS genes. The reason why I am asking you what is oncogene and what is proto-oncogene, what are tumor suppressor cells, tumor suppressor genes, is that you will be asked separately, name few oncogenes and write their features, important features. That can be a 4 mark. Okay, so that is the reason I am asking you all this. So what is the oncogenes? Oncogenes responsible for the etiopathogenesis of lung cancer. They can ask you like this: oncogenes responsible for the etiopathogenesis of lung cancer. So then you have to write CMYC, KRAS, okay, EGFR, which is and HER2/neu, okay, epithelial growth factor, EGFR, all these are, and tumor suppressor genes, okay. Tumor suppressor genes are common genes, P53 and RB gene, and P16INK4A is also very common thing, okay. So polymorphisms, okay. If you see here, I'll just use the point. Okay. Okay. So polymorphisms. Can anyone tell what is polymorphisms? Any idea? So what is polymorphism? Sai, are you there? Igna, what is polymorphisms?
Many forms.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, okay, what it means is, if in case see polymorphisms in the genes which are cytochrome P40, okay, what does it mean is, what happens is, if a gene, okay, example take this, okay, CP450, take this, it is said to be polymorphic, okay, if more than one allele, okay, if more than one allele occupies that gene's locus, okay, if more than one allele occupies that gene's locus, okay, understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next is few I mean, these are the, on a whole, these are few molecular genetics which are responsible for etiopathogenesis, but there are specific things for small cell carcinoma, MYC, RB alterations. What is RB? Can anyone tell what is RB? Full form. RB full form. I'll mute you guys, don't worry, but you have to answer a few things. RB is retinoblastoma, okay? Retinoblastoma. So on a whole, this is what is going to happen, okay? On a whole, sorry. On a whole, if you see, this is what is going to happen. First step, okay? Acquired, which is environmental. Any damaging agents like chemicals, radiations or viruses, when it falls on the normal cell, what will it do? Generally, what will it do? All these things are intracellular, right? So it affects the DNA, okay? If the repair is successful, it will go back to its normal state. But in case if there is a failure, okay, the second step, in case if there is a failure in DNA repair, obviously the next cell will become mutated. So mutations in the genome of somatic cells. Then what will happen? What will happen primarily is activation of growth promoting oncogenes. Can you tell one oncogene? Just now I showed you few oncogenes, no? Can you tell one oncogene? You have to answer. Yeah, tell me.
P40.
Okay. And inactivation of, because activation of growth promoting oncogenes. What did I tell you? What is the meaning of an oncogene? It is a cancer producing cell. Okay. So, and inactivation of tumor suppressor cells. What is tumor suppressor cell? TP53, I told you, no? P53. And alteration in the regular apoptosis. Why do you need apoptosis? Why do you need apoptosis?
To remove the
Cell.
You can, yeah.
Kill that cell. Cell death.
Okay, cell death. Okay, for proper cell death. So cells do not die; they get mutated. So there will be, what will happen? There will be abundant proliferation of new cells, new components with new DNA structure. Okay, abnormal to that of a normal DNA. So there will be unregulated cellular proliferation. And when there is cells, there should be apoptosis. But here, because of the DNA repair, DNA damage, apoptosis is not taking place. So what will also happen? There is decreased apoptosis. Then altogether there will be a clonal expansion. So when there is clonal expansion, there will be tumor progression, malignancy, and even metastasis. Okay, so this in general, this is what happens in any disease. Okay, especially when it is environmental. Okay, got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So few 1 minute. I told you don't see the full picture. Okay, don't see all this. This is all not so important. I'll just show you few things which I've already marked. Okay, so EGF. Okay, epithelial growth factor. I told you no. The proto-oncogene. What is the proto-oncogene? ERBB1. Okay, ERRB2. These two proto-oncogenes, and when there is overexpression of it, it causes small cell carcinoma. Okay, of the lung. I'll just go back and I'll just show you one more picture. See, remember all this. Okay, remember all this. When there is overexpression of epithelial growth factor, right? I marked it in red. If you see, when there is epithelial growth factor overproduction, there will be formation of small cell carcinoma of the lung, which is from epithelial growth factor. Next comes, see, this red mark I marked, no? Next is RAS mutation. When there is point mutation, it is a tumor associated to the lung. Okay. Next is amplification. So NMYC and LMYC causes small cell carcinoma of the lung and also small cell carcinoma of the lung by amplification. Okay, don't remember all this. And for you, I've also requested our faculty and the staff also. These PowerPoints will be available with them. If you guys are interested, you can ask them and they'll mail it to you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, do you remember this picture? Have you seen this picture anywhere? Say at least, yes, where? Apoptosis?
Apoptosis.
Yeah, very good. So, this is just a normal view, or this is the normal view. DNA damage, P53 gets activated and binds to DNA. There is transcription, and what happens? What are these? What is next? Sorry, what is next to BAX in apoptosis? Who answered apoptosis? They can tell. Cyclin dependent kinase inhibitors. Okay, they arrest the G1 cycle in cell cycle, and there will be successful repair of the cells. Okay, so when it comes to abnormal things, okay, when there is a damage, what is P53? Tumor suppressor gene, right? So tumor suppressor gene dependent genes are not activated, which means tumor suppressor genes are not activated. So there is no cell arrest, right? There is no cell arrest like this, like the one here. Cyclin dependent inhibitors are there, no? There is no cell arrest, and there is no repair of DNA. So they will obviously go for mutation. Got it? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if it is not clear, just tell me, no problem. I'll try to explain it, so that I just want you guys to understand everything. And when there is mutation, they'll be going for expansion, right? Expansion and growth of the tumor. Mutation, it has to grow, right? So these are these malignant tumor cells. Okay, in this picture or anywhere, when there is carcinogenesis or anything, you just have to remember P53 is not activated. Okay, P53 is not activated, and no cell cycle arrest, which is cyclin dependent kinase, are not activated. So there is no repair. Then it is mutation of the cells. Okay. Now, from now it is no more pathology. It is just a few all these variants which happen. So precursor lesions. What is the meaning of precursor lesion? Come on, you guys have to talk little. Precursor means what?
Before.
Is it cancerous? So precursor lesion means it does. See, that is the reason I've written it down. Maybe you might not be knowing. So it does not imply that progression to invasive carcinoma will occur in all cases. Okay, when these lesions, okay, are not treated adequately when they are in the precursor lesion state, okay, then these might go into invasive carcinomas. Okay, so precursor lesions are not always carcinomatous. Okay, you have to remember that. So what are the precursor? These are not so important for you. So squamous dysplasia, atypical adenomatous hyperplasia, diffuse idiopathic pulmonary neuroendocrine hyperplasia. Okay, these are few precursor lesions. Most important thing for you is histological classification of lung tumors. Okay, so first thing is squamous cell carcinoma, which features and all you must be knowing. No, squamous cell carcinoma anywhere is the same. Intracellular bridge is keratinization. And small cell carcinoma, in the name itself it is written small cell carcinoma. And one more variant is combined small cell carcinoma. So remember squamous cell carcinoma, small cell carcinoma, adenocarcinoma. In adenocarcinoma, there are variants: acinar, papillary, bronchoalveolar, solid. In this, papillary and bronchoalveolar and acinar are very important. Okay, large cell carcinoma, large cell neuroendocrine carcinoma, adenosquamous, okay, and carcinoid. These five are very important. So I will be discussing about squamous cell carcinoma, small cell carcinoma, adenocarcinoma, large cell carcinoma, and carcinoid tumors. Okay. In this, okay, they are divided into two groups of clinical usages. So small cell carcinoma it is metastatic and highly responsive to what is CT? Any idea what is CT? Any idea? CT means what? Chemotherapy. Okay. Small cell carcinoma is metastatic and highly responsive to chemotherapy. Next is non-small cell carcinoma. It is less responsive and less metastatic. So this is nothing but just a small view of how much portion of they are dependent. Okay, how much portion of major categories, which are small cell carcinoma and adenocarcinoma. Okay, squamous cell carcinoma and adenocarcinoma, they are the predominant carcinomas. Okay, remaining are variants like they cause less damage or less prevalent. So each morphology of lung tumors, generally they are present in and around the hilus, and about 3/4 of the tumors arise from first order. Okay, so this is first order. All this we are talking about the bronchi only. Okay, the first order, second order, and third order bronchi. Okay, remaining from the periphery of the lung. So how does it start? It starts as a small area of thickening, piling up the bronchial mucosa. And what will it do? It will become a wart. Initially, it will become a wart, and it will start eroding the lining epithelium. So once it erodes the lining epithelium, it will give you what? It will give you some hard tumor-like structure. So that is called fungating mass, fungating growth. Okay, fungating growth into the lumen or infiltrating the peribronchial tissue. Got it? one more thing is, in almost all patterns, the tumor is gray white. In almost all the patterns, the tumor is gray white, firm to hard, with areas of hemorrhage and necrosis. Remember this. And till what it can extend. Tumor extension can be to pleura and pericardium, and spread, which is metastasis, till where it can go, trachea, bronchial, okay, and mediastinal nodes. I mean, spread is lymphatic spread, sorry. Metastasis is distant spread. So here the most common thing and fastly metastatic organ is adrenals. Next is liver, then comes brain and bone. So lung tumors, if you ever come across, just remember adrenals first and liver. Brain and bone are also there. So that was a common scenario. Now individual. Squamous cell carcinoma, no, you don't have to read about each and every squamous cell carcinoma in the book. Squamous cell carcinoma has got few common points. One is keratinization and intracellular bridges. Here what it is, why it is important is, it is centrally located in the lung. Okay, it is centrally located and strongly associated with smokers. Okay, remember why I am telling you centrally located is, they'll in Viva they'll ask you which are the lungs which are the tumors which are more common in the periphery, which are the tumors which are more common in the center. So squamous cell carcinoma more common, okay, in the center, associated with smokers. What is the morphological feature? Keratinization and intracellular bridges. Next is adenocarcinoma. Adeno itself, in the name, from the beginning you must have learned that glandular differentiation will be there, or mucin production by the tumor cells. Okay, where is it located? Peripherally it is located. So the difference between adeno and squamous is, it's got variants. I told you, acinar, papillary, bronchoalveolar and solid. Most common lung tumor in women and non-smokers. Okay, and associated with area of scarring. So squamous cell carcinoma, if you see keratinization, can you see this keratinization? Okay, all this part is called keratinization. Okay, and these abnormal cells, see the cells, cell size, abnormal NC ratio, nucleus size is increased. Okay. So can you describe this grossly? What does it look like? Anyone? It is a gray white. Okay, gray white mass, hard, firm. That's all. Gray white mass, hard and firm. So adenocarcinoma. This is the lesion. This is lesion here. Okay. So adenocarcinoma, I told you, glandular pattern will be there. Mucin production by the tumor cells. So glandular pattern inside, mucin production will be there. Okay, all these are glands. Okay. So few more things I told you. Glandular pattern has got acinar, papillary, bronchoalveolar. This is papillary structures. If you see this. Okay, next is see, this is papillary structures, finger-like projections. Next is bronchoalveolar and glandular. Okay. So next entity is bronchoalveolar carcinoma. Occurs in the terminal bronchoalveolar regions. Okay, terminal bronchoalveolar lesions. Almost always located in the periphery. Okay, it is almost always located in the periphery. Either, till now you saw, no, there is only single nodule, single mass-like things are present. But here it can be as a single nodule or multiple diffuse nodules. It will mimic like consolidation. I showed you pictures of consolidation. Gray, white, patchy like areas I showed you, consolidation. So there will be consolidation. Next is parenchymal nodules must be having mucinous gray, translucent or solid gray white areas. So each cell, each tumor cell, now we are discussing about each tumor cell grows along with pre-existing structures. Okay, each tumor cell, they grow with the pre-existing structures without destroying the alveolar architecture. You will understand this immediately when I show you the picture. Okay, tumor cells grow along with pre-existing structure without destroying the alveolar architecture. Okay, I'll show you the picture. See, this is a normal alveoli, right? So the tumor cells are growing accordingly with the structure. Okay, they are not destroying it, not disturbing it. Got it? Yes. So bronchoalveolar it's got two types. Subtypes are mucinous and mucinous and non-mucinous. So in mucinous, what component it's got? It's got tall columnar with cytoplasmic and intraalveolar mucin. In non-mucinous, in the name itself it is written, okay, cuboidal with peg-shaped cells. And so that alone you remember, okay. So neuroendocrine tumor, I'm not going to tell much about this because it's not so important for you. I'll just give you a small thing. So it is benign tumor-like cells, okay, with small inconsequential hyperplastic neuroendocrine cells, okay, small blue round cells area in where it is seen in the areas of scarring, okay, with chronic inflammation. Okay, so one more thing is these neuroendocrine cells are highly aggressive small cell carcinoma and large cell carcinomas can be very aggressive. Okay, so the mortality rate of this, when it is benign, it is normal, but it is going into malignancy, it is very aggressive. So squamous is over, adeno is over, bronchoalveolar is over. Small cell carcinoma. So small cell carcinoma, in the name itself it is written small cell carcinoma. Clusters of small tumor cells about the size of a lymphocyte with necrosis. Remember, small cell carcinoma is very simple. Small round cells, oval cells, or spindle-shaped cells with scanty cytoplasm and ill-defined cell borders. Up to that you remember, and nucleoli is absent. One more thing you have to know is it gives us what it gives for the nucleus, fine granular chromatin. Okay, that appearance is salt and pepper. So these three you remember: small round cells, oval spindle-shaped cells, scanty cytoplasm, fine granular chromatin, which is a salt and pepper appearance, and absence of or inconspicuous nucleoli. Okay, if you want to go further, electron microscopy, dense core neurosecretory granules are present. Next is IHC, immunohistochemistry shows chromogranin, synaptophysin, LEU7 are positive for this. So a picture of small cell carcinoma, okay. Small round cells, okay. Throughout the picture, if you see, there are small round cells. Here, oval to fewer oval shape, fewer spindle shaped. Okay. If you, I don't think we can zoom this. Yeah, we can't zoom it. If you take granular cytoplasm. Okay. Fine granular cytoplasm. Can you just tell me yes or no? Are you able to see? Okay, which gives a salt and pepper appearance. Next comes large cell carcinoma, which is large cell carcinoma, large in the name. Okay, large cells Okay, large cells. If you see here, all these are large cells having moderate cytoplasm and prominent nucleoli. Difference is absence of nucleoli, prominent nucleoli. Okay, large cell, neurocrine, organoid. This is just nothing but patterns of large cell carcinoma. Okay. Next is carcinoid. So what is a carcinoid tumor? It consists of 1 to 5% of lung tumors. Okay, size can be 3 to 5 centimeters in diameter. It can occur in both central and peripheral location, mainly at age of less than 40 years. Okay, no male to female discrepancies. It is present in both. Okay, and they are low grade malignant epithelial neoplasms which are subclassified into typical, very simple, typical, atypical. Carcinoid tumor, remember few features: 1 to 5% of the lung tumors, 3 to 4 centimeters, less than 40 years, present in both central and peripheral, divided into typical and atypical. So what is typical, atypical? It's not so difficult. Typical, down latency, less than 2 mitosis per 10 high power fields, which does not have necrosis. It lacks necrosis. Next is atypical. What is atypical? 2 to 10. It is less than, typical is nothing but less than 2. Atypical 2 to 10 mitosis. Okay. HPF is high power field. Above there is no necrosis. Here it can be presence of necrosis. So, okay, typical, atypical over. No? If you write that half of the question is over. Next, what will you write? Pathology. So you have to write the gross features. Here itself it is written 3 to 4 centimeters. Okay. So tumors grow as a finger-like or spherical polypoid projections. Okay, into the bronchial lumen. Okay, so what will happen when they project into the bronchial lumen? There will be obstruction, first thing. Okay, and these are covered by intact mucosa and confined into the main stem of the bronchial. Okay, so pattern. Just before this slide, I told you large cell carcinoma, organoid pattern. Okay, all those patterns I told you. No, here also it's got organoid, trabecular, palisading, ribbon-like or rosette-like arrangements. Okay. So how do these cells look like? Individual tumor cells. These are regular with uniform round nuclei and moderate eosinophilic cytoplasm. Okay. Are you guys listening?
Yes.
Yeah, good. So local effects of lung tumor spread. Okay. So pneumonia, abscess. Okay, what will happen? Pneumonia, abscess. What will happen? And lobar collapse. There will be obstruction. And so these are all the clinical features. Okay. SVC syndrome is nothing but superior vena cava. Okay, so all these are very important. What will happen to your lungs? Okay, so how will be the clinical course? There will be cough, weight loss, chest pain, and dyspnea. So new international staging system. There is T1 till T4. T1 is nothing but if the tumor is less than 3 centimeters. And tumor is more than 3 to 7 centimeters, T3 which is more than 7 centimeters. So important thing here is whether there is involvement of the pleura or main stem. So without T1 is without pleura. Here there is involvement of the brain stem, main stem, bronchus, okay, with 2 centimeters from target. Whereas T3, I'll tell you why I'm not telling about T4. T3, there will be involvement of the chest wall. Okay, diaphragm, mediastinal pleura, and pericardium. T4 is complete invasion. Okay. T4 means it is complete invasion. N means what? T means tumor, right? N means what? Nodes, lymph nodes. Okay. N0 to N3. So N0, no nodes, no nodes at all. N1 is ipsilateral hilar nodes and peribronchial nodes. N2, it metastases to the ipsilateral nodes. Okay, it metastases to the ipsilateral nodes. N3 is nothing but there is complete metastasis to the contralateral, mediastinal and hilar nodes. So what is M? TNM. It is called TNM staging. M is nothing but metastasis. MO is no distant metastasis. Metastasis, I told you, till what it can go. So distant metastasis, M1A is nothing but separate tumor nodule in contralateral lobe or pleural. MB is distant metastasis. Okay, M1B is distant metastasis. Till how far can it go? It can go to the adrenals, lungs, bone, and brain. Okay. So squamous cell carcinoma, it's got that overall tumors, they've got up to a 5-year survival rate. So squamous on an average. So squamous cell carcinoma has got 15 years. Sorry, 15% survival rate. Okay, this is 15% survival rate. Adenocarcinoma, 15 to 20. So the progression here for survival is less only in what? Large cell carcinoma, right? I told you, neuroendocrine, large cell neuroendocrine, they are highly aggressive tumors. Do you remember? So that is the reason they have got a percentage less. I told you lungs are the most common site of metastatic neoplasms. Both carcinoma and sarcoma arise anywhere in the body, okay, but may spread to the lungs via, the route is very important, how the tumor spreads. It can be via blood, hematogenous or lymphatics, or by direct continuity, okay. So on direct, this is a question actually, PG question. Cannonball lesions. Where do you see cannon? Particularly mainly seen as a multiple discrete nodules in the periphery of the lung. Okay. So what do you send? What do you send for? You have to go for a sputum cytology. Clinical features will lead you to lab diagnosis. Okay, so one is sputum cytology, bronchoalveolar wash and brushing, and FNAC guided. In case if you need for a image guided lung biopsy, okay, image guided lung biopsy. So pleura, all this is nothing, very small issue. Okay, so pleural effusion you will see in inflammatory conditions. So emphysema, you see these things, okay. Emphysema, okay, serofibrinous pleuritis and hemorrhagic pleuritis. So first thing, the fluid will be serofibrinous, okay. So what will the disease association? It can be pneumonitis, okay, or vascular disease. If it is emphysema, it will look like pus, okay. So pus means nothing but suppurative lung inflammation. Hemorrhagic means blood exudate. Definitely hemorrhage means blood, so blood exudate. It can arise because of a tumor. Okay. These are non-inflammatory. Pleural effusion caused by non-inflammatory conditions: hydrothorax, pneumothorax, and chylothorax. Chyle means nothing, chyle means lymph. Okay. So lymphatic obstruction. Hemo is blood. Hydro is nothing but a fluid, transudate. Okay. So this is the chyle. So pleural tumors, okay, pleural tumors, benign is very not, I mean not very, it's not so important, okay. Benign tumors, solitary fibrous tumor, it is called benign mesothelioma, now recognized as a soft tissue tumor, more than that of a tumor which is arising from the lung. Okay, so what it is, where it is commonly seen, pleura, and less common in the lung. So it's there in the wording itself. So it is attached to the pleural surface. What you have to remember here is mesothelioma, which is malignant. Okay, it arises either from visceral or parietal pleura. Okay, so there is a condition which is precursor conditions, which are precancerous conditions, which can be stopped, either smoking or asbestosis. If it is stopped, the malignant, it cannot be turned into malignant mesothelioma. Okay, so it is associated with asbestosis, and also it is magnified by smoking. So malignant mesothelioma histologically, subtypes are epithelioid, sarcomatoid, and mixed. Okay, over. Class is over.
Yes, sir.
Why after the class is over also you guys are dull? Okay, so okay then, bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.